Everybody, and welcome to the live show. I'm glad you're with me here today. I moved it. You know why? What was on yesterday? Yeah, it's the NBA playoffs, and a lot of Raptors fans would not be watching. We were all watching the game here, cheering on our Canadian team. So hopefully they'll be able to go deep into this series and hopefully win it. So yeah, didn't do the show last night, but here we are today. I'm going to be here next weekend and hopefully a few weekends after that. I think towards the end of the month I'm on a trip. Just to let you know what's going on. Off to Newfoundland tomorrow. They're doing the Macon launch in Newfoundland, the other entire end of the country from where I am here in Vancouver. So that'll be a lot of fun, a lot of seat time to get there. So Newfoundland, if you've never been, is spectacular, just beautiful. So really looking forward to going there. We're going to a place called Gros Morne National Park. Then next week, I'm going to be at a local event here, fairly local, going to Whistler. They're doing a Ford Ranger event, going to do some off-roading, which will be a lot of fun. I've been to this particular off-road course with Mercedes with the G-Wagon, so it's just outside of Whistler, so we'll get some images of the Ranger off-road. The following week, only 2 media in Canada have been invited to this event, so I'm really excited about it, and that is to fly down to Utah. They're having a Ford ST program. So you know Ford has had their ST, their performance division for the cars, for the Focus, for the Edge. Now they've shifted over to SUVs, so we're going to be able to take the Ford Edge ST out on the track and also the new Explorer ST as well. The following week is the Hyundai Palisade, getting a chance to drive that in Idaho. And then the week after that, go to Italy to drive the Audi A4. So lots and lots of stuff going on. I just want to let you know that you might have seen the channel announcement that we put up on the weekend for Sweet and Sour. There's my buddy Brian Chow. Brian has the channel called Everyday Reviews, and mine is Motormouth. And we've been working together for over 16 years doing the TV show that we host across the country called Driving TV. And because we're always doing our YouTube channel separately, we thought we're always going together on these trips. We'll do some videos as well, just the two of us. So the Sweet and Sour channel is up and running. It has about 2,000 subscribers now. So go back when you have a moment onto my channel and you'll see the channel announcement. Click on that and it has a link to find it. So that's a roundabout way of doing it. On the channel, you'll see the channel announcement video. If you go on there, there's a link to get to the new Sweet and Sour channel, okay? So let's get into some Q&A and see what's going on. All right, Zach Jonas from Montreal thinking about getting a Santa Fe. Preferred version is the 2.4 liter all-wheel drive. Any downside? It's been really difficult to find another car with the same content for the price. That's what Hyundai and Kia do so well, is they load up their vehicles with a lot of content. There's absolutely nothing wrong with getting a Santa Fe. The 2.4 liter is the naturally aspirated engine. It doesn't have the turbocharger. Could be argued that there's an upside to that. Yeah, I don't really see there's an issue with it. And that's, of course, why people gravitate to these brands, is they do offer a lot of content for the price. So yeah, there would be a train of thought that the regular 2.4 liter might be the better long-term buy and steer clear of the turbo. So yeah, I have no issue with the car at all. Actually, one issue I had with the turbo was that it had a bit of turbo lag, but you're right, it has a lot of content. Beren says, super fan of yours, still in the market for a compact size hybrid SUV. Any suggestions? Well, really, the best one is the new RAV4. I mean, that really is the best one. There is no CR-V hybrid yet. It is available in other markets. I saw it when I was in Europe. I'm thinking that's such a no-brainer. Bring it to our North American market, but that's not the case. So yeah, I'm not sure what to suggest other than Toyota RAV4. And just considering resale value alone, it's a good buy because it's only $1,400 more than the regular gasoline version. And then when you go to sell it, you know you're going to get most of that money back. So good for you. What's the most expensive restaurant I've been to? I can't really think, because I get invited when we go to these car launches to these crazy hotels and restaurants. I never see the bill, but yeah, some pretty nice places, I have to say. It's a nice one. Evan Katz. Hi, Zach. You're doing a great job on your channel. Evan from New York City, New York. Well, thank you. Appreciate that. Can you review the 2019 RAV4 XCE? Been waiting 2 months for it. Well, there's 2 reviews of the RAV4 on the channel. The one we drove in California for the launch, and then the one I did with Andrea, the his and her test drive with the Forester. I am getting the RAV4 hybrid in August, so that's probably not soon enough for you, but yeah, it is coming. So the XSE is the hybrid model. I did reference it and I did drive it in the first review, so go back and watch it. Bruce says, for wagons, with the apparent demise of the Volkswagen Sportwagen All-Track, I'm guessing we're now limited to the Volvo V60 A4 All-Road. Any others you'd recommend? Well, the C-Class from Mercedes-Benz, I'm not sure if you're in Canada or the United States, Bruce. In Canada, we get the C-Class. It's a wonderful looking car, great car. There's the C300, there's the C43 AMG. I have that booked. I'm getting it later in the summer. Yeah, you're right. It's diminishing returns. Volvo's also getting rid of the full-size V90 and the V90 Cross Country. It's a real shame. But yeah, I would really strongly look at the Mercedes-Benz C-Class. I think it's a great product. Chris Doucette, looking at a new 5-liter Mustang for summer. 6-speed with power pack. Have you ever driven one? What do you think? Yes, I did a review of that very car, the Mustang GT, with the V8, the 6-speed manual, and the power pack. So go back onto the channel, type in Mustang review. You'll find the yellow one. You'll see the picture there. It was the yellow one. I drove with the 10-speed automatic and with the manual, and manual is the way to go. And the sorry, you said power pack. I drove with the track pack with the dyno ride, magnetic ride control, and I think what Magno Ride, which is magnetic ride control, is what I drove. Is that the one you're referring to, the power pack 2? If it is something else, I'm sorry, I'm not exactly sure on what that is. Please chime in again if it isn't that. But I'm telling you something, that is a wonderful car. Absolutely fantastic, and the manual is the way to go. Hey Zach, I ended up buying a 2016 Acura MDX after I was surprised that prices on average with similar equipment undercut the sister model, the Honda Pilot. Any reason you can explain? I ended up buying a 16 MDX. I was surprised that prices on average with similar equipment undercut the sister model. Well, it's a 2-year-old car. So I'm not sure if you're comparing a brand new Pilot to a used MDX, but there's no way, there's absolutely no way that a new version of each is the same. Maybe in the used market, what you're finding is that the Pilots are holding their value better than the MDX, and it could be just simply a function of one thing, and that's the fact that the MDX with the 9-speed, some people might want to steer away from that, and it uses premium fuel where the Pilot does not. What are your thoughts on the Mark 6 GTI manual? Go for it, 2013. Absolutely. Good for you. Go and drive one. Now, anything that's German and it's used, so how many years now has the Mark 7 been out? 4 years or so? So we're talking, oh, there you go, it's a 13. So yeah, this car is now, what's 3 from 9? 6. This car's 6 years old. So you're getting into that expensive spot. I'm not sure how many miles it has on it. Please do yourself a favor and get it inspected by an independent third-party mechanic. So if it's for sale at Bob's Volkswagen, send it over to Larry's Volkswagen. Make sure they're not owned by the same company and get them to do what's called a pre-purchase inspection. You pay for it. It's going to cost a couple $100. They're going to go through the entire car. They're going to check it all out, and you get that piece of paper because you're the one that paid for it. Then you have some negotiating power. It's going to give you an idea of the condition of the car, and if there's some things that maybe need to be addressed, or maybe the tires or the brakes or the muffler or whatever it is, you can go back and negotiate on price. But please, please, please do that, because a 6-year-old GTI could have been driven very roughly. It could be a garage queen. I have no way of knowing. People are saying they subscribed. I appreciate that. If you're just tuning in, hey, I just want to let you know, before we go any further, yeah, if you're just tuning in now, I mentioned that Brian Chow and I, there he is, we started our other channel called Sweet and Sour, where we drive around together and talk about the car. So yeah, I'll still be doing my reviews here on Motormouth. Brian will still be doing his individual reviews over there at Everyday Reviews, but when we get together, we'll do our sweet and sour, which is the two of us together. So that's fun. I just wanted to let you know that I'm going to get back to the questions in just a second. My buddy Russ Bond from Motoring TV has KartSTART up again. I'm going to play this short little video, and if you're interested, this is a great gift for somebody. Father's Day gift. It might be a great Father's Day gift for a son and father to go, or daughter and father to go together. But anyway, watch this little video, then we'll get back to the Q&A. I want to let you know about KartSTART. A good buddy of mine and somebody you might recognize is going right across the country teaching kids what it's like to actually drive a motorized vehicle. You might remember the very first time you ever steered and touched the brake and the gas and what it felt like. So the guy that runs it is Russ Bond. He hosts the 2-minute test drive on TSN's Motoring. He's a good friend of mine. And what he does, he goes from one end of Canada all the way to the other, giving kids a chance to drive a go-kart for the very first time. Kids get professional instruction, and new for this year is the accessibility cart. So anybody that has accessibility issues can drive the hand-driven go-kart.
Starting younger is definitely the way to go.
I think anytime they get experience driving, even just like this, it'll just be helpful.
I guess it was pretty cool to feel like a race car driver almost.
All the staff's watching them and they're safe.
And what does it cost? Well, I'll tell you what. There's sessions right across the country. To find the one nearest you, go to KartSTART.ca and sign up for one of the sessions. And when you go to checkout, put in the promo code, my name, Zach, Z-A-C-K, and you'll get $20 off. It only costs $59 per child. So if you have a younger brother, younger sister, you've got a nephew, if you're a grandparent, this is a great gift to give to somebody to go and have some fun. 59 bucks to go go-karting. It's a great thing. Russ is a great guy. The kids are going to have a blast. They've been doing it now across the country. I think it's 6 years, something like that. So sign up if you're interested. So there you go. That's my buddy Russ Bond, a great guy, good program, and it's a good deal. I mean, if you're going to get anybody that's under 16 involved in a vehicle, it's a great thing to do, and and they introduce you to the Toyota cars as well. The parents get to drive the latest new Toyota cars, and then the kids do the go-karting. So it's a great day out, and it's only 59 bucks if you use the promo code. All right, let's get back to the questions. Zach, what do you think of the Lexus UX 250H? Is it worth getting? I haven't driven it myself. Max from the channel has driven it. So once again, go back, type in Lexus UX, you will find the review of that car. I am going to get it later in the summer, but I don't have any first-hand experience with it. So basically what you have is you have the Toyota CHR, and then they turn it into a Lexus, and in order to get around the all-wheel drive situation the CHR does not have, they add in the hybrid, and the hybrid is what gives you the all-wheel drive system, which leads me to believe that Toyota will also be bringing the CHR hybrid in that's sold in other markets into our country. Don't have first-hand experience, but there is a review on the channel. Did you hear of the updated or fixed the Acura MDX 10-speed issues? I drove the MDX several months ago with my wife Andrea, and I have had a chance to drive other products with the 10-speed in there. When the vehicle first came out, I didn't love it. I thought it was terrible, in fact. In my review of the Honda Pilot with the 10-speed automatic when it first came out, I absolutely slayed it. I thought it was garbage. Now, of course, it's all software related. It's programming. And now you drive it with the 10-speed and it's absolutely no problem. Sorry, I'm confused. The 9-speed in the MDX. The 10-speed, I drove, no issues with that. So I'm confusing that. There's so many, they have an 8, a 9, and a 10-speed. The 9-speed was the problematic one. The 10-speed, I have had no issues with it yet. Thoughts on the Tesla Model X? Great work with your videos. I just think this thing's grossly overpriced. I mean, I just can't get my head around what they charge for them. And considering the build quality of Tesla cars, I just can't, I don't know why people buy. I mean, you got to really want to have an electric car to put up with a car with vehicles that have so many issues. And the Model X, if you look at the Consumer Reports reviews and the issues they've had, it's a long list. So yeah, it's not for me. Do you think it matters if a German car is made in another country? Same thing with other brands. Absolutely not. I won't buy a car because it's made in Mexico, or I won't buy a car because it's not made in Germany. It's absolute crap. These plants that these car companies build are the most modern, high-tech plants you could ever imagine. I've toured them. I've been at them. I went to the plant in Chattanooga, Tennessee, where Volkswagen builds the Atlas and the Passat when it first opened. It's as modern as any factory I've ever seen in Europe. Same thing in Mexico. You've got to know that when a vehicle is made, the actual hands-on assembly by people is at the very end. Most of it is automated. Most of it is robotic. Most of it is done by machines. It's really only putting the seats in and sliding the dashboard in. So I have no issue with it. Look at all these best sellers of vehicles that come to market in our market here. Like if you're looking at a BMW X5 or an X7 or an X3, they're all made in the United States. So vehicles, the mainline vehicles that people really buy are built mostly near the North American marketplace. Now, the big hurdle for people to get their head around are when Chinese cars start coming in to the North American market. There are a handful of them. Honda brought in the Fit. Cadillac has an SUV, I believe, that they bring in, and maybe a Buick as well. But yeah, I don't think there's going to be any issues. The country of origin will not matter. Zach, is it worth getting lease protection? I recently traded my lease car with another manufacturer and they accepted the vehicle as is. I'm not sure what you're getting at lease protection. Is that damage protection? I'm not sure what you mean by lease protection. Is that excessive wear and tear for things like stained carpets or torn leather seats or scuff bumpers? I'm not sure what you mean by that. I heard about a facelift for the new Honda CR-V. Is anything you know about it? I don't really know anything about it other than the fact that if you look at the timeline, all you have to do is be able to add. Look at the timeline of when a vehicle came in, fast forward 3 or 4 years to a mid-cycle refresh and you can figure it out. Plus, who just came out with an all-new direct competitor, Toyota with the RAV4, so you know Honda will have something. They did have a recall for the 1.5 liter with the cold weather issues and oil mixing with the coolant. So that is an issue that they're gonna have to get ahead of, because as that reputation for that engine gets out there, they're gonna have to worry about, you know, bad reputation for Honda engines. And Honda, to their credit, has made some wonderful engines over the years, but they really need to do something about that. So yeah, it's something that they need to address, and hopefully with a new model update they can do that. Do you know of any hybrid non-plug-in car with all-wheel drive? Yes, the Prius is all-wheel drive. The Toyota Prius you can get for $1,000 more. You can get the all-wheel drive Prius. The Highlander is all-wheel drive, and the RAV4 is all-wheel drive. A hybrid car, not plug-in car with all-wheel drive, yes. Now, the interesting thing is I haven't driven the new Toyota Corolla yet, but it has the same system as the Prius. They haven't put it in the Camry, so I don't think it is in the Toyota Corolla yet. But if you're looking for an all-wheel drive car, Prius for $1,000 more will get you all-wheel drive. This is from Kevin. A BMW 2015 325 iX under 40,000 kilometers is clean. 26,000 sound good, well equipped from BMW dealer. Got to get out of my 2017 Highlander lease. Great truck, but makes me feel old. Yeah, I mean, the Highlander has got to be one of the best products that they make, but yeah, it ain't sexy. I don't know off the top of my head if that's a good deal. What you need to do is go to Canadian Black Book, okay? Canadian Black Book. And you can type in all of those things. Let's see, what's my vehicle worth? So you're going to be able to go in there and type in 2015 325 all-wheel drive, 40,000 kilometers, good condition. It will give you the trade-in value. That's what somebody who owns would get at a dealer if they traded it in. It will give you the current sort of retail market, what average people are asking for it. So have a look at that and see. So this is a 4-year-old car under 40,000 kilometers, 26,000. It's hard to tell because I don't know exactly what the options are on it. But yeah, CanadianBlackBook.com is your friend. That's where you need to go. Full disclosure, I do work for Canadian Black Book. When you're on there, you might see some videos. It's Zach that's doing those. Thoughts on the RCF Track Edition? I don't really know much about it other than they have one. I saw it at the auto show. I think my issue with the RCF and the is the fact that the cars, anytime Lexus comes out with a performance car, it always feels too soft for me. It's too velvety. I call the ISF was the name I had. It was the Velvet Hammer. That great V8 engine sounded great. It went well, but it just never felt fantastic. And the same thing with the RC cars. The Track Edition, I'd have to get my my hands on one to try it, but Lexus leans more towards smooth and comfortable, but I'm sure it's a very capable car. Zach says, hey Zach, good work on the Sweet and Sour channel. Thanks very much. I appreciate that. And hopefully you can follow along. Mac Daddy says, do you have confidence that Nissan will get the next 370Z and the next GTR pretty great overall, or just surprise us with anything, cancellations, hybridization, etc.? I'm not sure if there's any kind of hybridization in the works for those products. The 370 is very old. I mean, when you drive that car today, it looks really dated on the inside. I mean, it was dated 4 years ago. So you get in it now, and it's an amazing deal. If you're wanting a two-door hatchback sporty coupe, they can be had for super cheap. And that is actually a good deal right now because the engine has been around forever, the interior has been around forever, the mechanics of the vehicle have been going for a long time. So there are some good deals there. The difference between the base model and the Nismo is quite high. And the other thing is the Nismo will rattle your teeth out. I think that the suspension setup for the Nismo was just too sharp for everyday situations. If you're going to be having some fun and taking it to the track, or doing some autocross or something, yeah, absolutely. Now, getting onto the GTR. GTR, it's an amazing piece of equipment. It's an amazing feat of engineering, but a soulless car to drive, like an appliance. It does everything so well, you don't even feel like you're doing anything. The car does it all. It's like a video game. So that's been the major knock against that car. So I don't know what they're going to do with it. I could see doing some hybridization, high performance hybridization for the GTR, make it an even better car like Porsche does with their hybrid cars, but I don't have any insight on that. Hey Zach, big fan of yours hailing from Richmond, British Columbia. Would be in the market for a compact EV SUV. What are your top 3 choices? Well, you're really looking at the Kona, and you're looking for the Niro from Kia, and you're looking at probably the Mitsubishi Outlander plug-in hybrid. I mean, none of these are really big. These are except for the Outlander is a compact plug-in hybrid electric vehicle, but the others are subcompacts. Now, here's the one thing. Go and get an Kona. It looks rugged and all of that, but actually the interior space is really quite limited. It's based on a subcompact platform. The back seat is small. The cargo area isn't very big. And that's why they're choosing that for a full EV, because they're going to be able to get the best range out of it, over 400 kilometers of pure electric range. I still believe that the Mitsubishi Outlander PHEV for the vast majority of people will do the trick, because you're going to get that 30-40 kilometers of EV range and then switching to a very, very efficient hybrid system. Speaking of hybrid, I believe, here's what I truly believe. If you are really wanting to get an electrified product, the best thing you can do today is buy yourself a Toyota RAV4. A RAV4 with its hybrid system is going to give you the biggest return on your investment right away. It's only $1,400 more than the gasoline version. You buy it, you drive it, and almost immediately you're going to start to see benefits at the pumps and receiving that benefit back into your pocketbook without having to spend the enormous amounts of money you need to in order to get an electric vehicle. Because what's going to happen in the next 2 to 3 years is there's going to be so many more electric vehicles, like proper compact utilities, like a RAV4 plug-in hybrid would be great. And the Mitsubishi Outlander will be redone. They are going to, in probably 2 years, have a new PHEV. But right now, to go out and buy a Kona is a good product. I have no problem against it, but it's really not that big. The next question is, C43 AMG wagon is the low-key and best value in the entire Mercedes-Benz lineup. I would absolutely agree to that. I just love it. I think it's a great car. So yeah, I think the other thing that's really cool about the AMG 43 wagon in the C-Class is that there's none for sale in the used market come 5 years from now. So if Mercedes-Benz decides after maybe this year or next year they're going to stop selling it, I guarantee you they will hold its value really well, because guys like you and guys like me that love station wagons, you start looking for them, there are none available. I'll give you a perfect example. I owned an E34 BMW station wagon, a 5 Series. It was a 525 I was in 1992. There were so few of them made, and then they only made them for 1 or 2 years. So when I went to sell that car, there was one for sale in the entire country, one. And the person that bought it had to pay me what I wanted. They said, well, you give me a deal on it, I can go and buy a Passat wagon. I said, go ahead, buy a Passat wagon. It's not a BMW wagon. And I got exactly what I wanted for the car because there was one for sale in the entire country. So when that Mercedes C-Class, if it gets discontinued, and it might just because it isn't for sale in the US at all, will be a car that is going to have a market when it goes to sell. Now, here's the other thing is, now, could you imagine you market that car in the US? If, say, in 5 years you decide to sell your car and you sell it in the US, well, then you're going to get somebody who wants it for sure. It's a huge market. And get US dollars and not Canadian dollars for the car. So I think that that C-Class wagon is a fantastic product. The Volvo, the V60, another good product, but I prefer the C-Class. Nicholas says, currently hydrogen vehicles are expensive to buy and fill up. Do you really see it gaining traction with EV getting more and more popular? Well, let's just pump the brakes on that. EVs are not getting more and more popular. EVs are getting slightly more popular. The actual numbers don't bear that out. You might live in an area where you see more electric vehicles, but you have to look at the entirety of the market. And in the entirety of the automotive market, electric vehicles still account for just over 1%. So we got a long, long way to go. I think that hydrogen is the long play. In the short term, I truly believe the best thing for people to do if they want to reduce their emissions and save money on fuel and transition them to an electric car is a hybrid car or a plug-in hybrid car. And then in 2 or 3 or 4 years, when there's more and more electric vehicles, much more competition, many more choices, and many more models to choose from, that would be the time to get into a electric vehicle with better range, better price, better size. And then years down the road, probably 10 to 15 years down the road, was when we'll have more hydrogen filling infrastructure. But the upside to hydrogen is there's zero that you have to do to it other than drive it like a regular car. You go to the filling station, you fill it up in the 3 to 5 minutes it takes to fill up your car today, you unplug it and you drive away, and you have 600-700 kilometers of range, for example. That is a compelling story for a lot of people. What we don't have yet is filling infrastructure, and hopefully that's coming. Somebody says, I've heard the CRV 2020 is getting a facelift. Any ideas about it? As I mentioned earlier, they're probably closer to having a substantial facelift because it's so competitive in that space. That's got to be their #1 car. So I would suggest that they're probably going to do more than just a facelift. Okay, here's Chris is getting back to me on the Power Pack 2. Because I know that's the Track Pack, unless they've changed the name of it. The Power Pack 2 includes magnetic ride controller, Magna Ride. That's awesome. And you get the Michelin Cup 2 tires. Yeah. So this is a wonderful car. We're talking about the Mustang, the 5-liter. A wonderful car. I just think that there's 2 vehicles that I really want anybody to drive that they've never driven one. One is a Miata, an MX-5, and the other is a Mustang 5-liter with that sport package or the magnetic ride control. It is so good. It just sounds amazing. And they're totally different vehicles with the same purpose, which is fun. An MX-5 is small, low to the ground, lightweight, just so visceral and raw and just perfect. And then the Mustang is perfect in another way. It's got a big ass 400 plus horsepower engine, V8, it sounds good, manual transmission, stuck to the road. Yeah, dude, you are gonna love it. It is a great car, absolutely love it. Excuse me. This next question is, would you get a 2018 WRX or a Civic Si sedan? I wouldn't put it between the WRX and the Si sedan. I would put it between the Si sedan and a GTI. I would throw the WRX in there as well. So these are three compelling choices. So the Si sedan is a wonderful car. I think they did a great job on it. The WRX is getting long in the tooth. This is the older, or maybe the oldest product in the Subaru lineup. And then the GTI is at the very end of its run right now too, but still, compared to the WRX, feels quite modern. What they added for 2019, you might want to consider for the WRX is getting a 19, is that they added Apple and Android to the head unit and updated that. But these are all good choices. I drove a WRX recently. A dealer lent it to me for the day and I drove it, and it's starting to show its age, and the engine is, the whole car is quite noisy. So if it was me, I'd take the WRX out and I'd focus on a GTI or an SI, and there's no wrong answer. They're all good cars. Ian Davidson, hi Zach. Watch your review of the RAV4 and the Forester. Great reviews. Which is quieter of the two vehicles overall on the highway for your experience? This is a no-brainer. The biggest knock against the RAV4 is it's noisy. So that's one reason why you might want to consider the hybrid. Once again, it's only $1,400 more, is going to give you a quieter experience. But that is, it is disappointingly noisy. After you drive it, I drove it for a week, I kind of got used to it. I got an old Toyota pickup truck, so I'm used to having a noisier car. So if you're looking for quiet and smooth and more comfortable, the Forester hands down is the way to go. And if you go back and watch it, we did say that the Forester actually feels more upscale, more polished, more refined feeling. The RAV4 for sure is noisier and not as refined feeling. Hey Zach, comparing the Honda lineup, CR-V Pilot, with the Volkswagen Tiguan Atlas, I don't quite understand where the Sorento Telluride align. Telluride seems as big as the Sorento. No. Okay, so what you're talking about is the compact and full size. You're right, because the one issue that they've had is the Sorento has always been a tweener. It's always kind of been between a compact and a mid-size SUV, but when you get in and out of it next to the Telluride is that much bigger. The Telluride is Atlas kind of size and Pilot size. But you know what that's interesting is I would say that the Sorento and the Tiguan are kind of similar in size, because the Tiguan, you might remember, they made it bigger. They brought the long wheelbase version from Europe to North America as our base car. So no, it's not the same. It's a tweener, and I would even say that the Tiguan's kind of a tweener. It's in between a true compact utility and a midsize. But that Telluride, there it is. The Telluride is fantastic. I think they're going to sell a ton of them. Absolutely. So it seems like people like the sweet and sour videos. I'm glad to hear that, because, you know, Brian and I, it is interesting because some people said, oh, you're just copying the straight pipes. And it's like, Brian and I have been doing this sweet and sour thing for a long time. And so what we would do is when we'd go on our press trips, I would do my motor mouth video, and often, because Brian was driving with me and he's my camera guy too when we do the TV show, we would just set up a GoPro and do it together, and he would host it on his channel. I've put a few of them on this channel as well. We've been doing it for quite a few years. And the thing is, I've been working with Brian, shooting cars and doing videos for over 16 years. So we decided, you know, on one of our trips, I think we were in Europe together, we said, let's just start separately. So I'm glad people like it. So yeah, if you're not aware, I'll go back to it again because some people might be just tuning in now. Brian and I did start a separate channel called Sweet and Sour. There's Brian Chow. He has everyday reviews. This is Motormouth. That's one of the cars we did recently. So when you have a moment, go onto the channel and you'll see the announcement, the new channel announcement. If you click on that, you'll find the link to get to Sweet and Sour. All right. Hey Zach, my first German car 8 months ago, an A5 Sportback. Everyone says that I should stay away. Are these cars really that bad for long term? I keep my cars for 5 or 6 years. Listen, Mario, I think if you're going to keep your car for 5 or 6 years, you're going to be just fine. What I would suggest is, Your car is, you've had it for 8 months, okay? So it's new. Oh, I think it's new. When the car comes towards the end of its 4-year warranty, you can then have it qualify for an extended warranty, either through Audi or for an aftermarket warranty. So if you're really concerned about it and you are worried about it, you can pay some money and get more coverage for the car. If you maintain your cars and you look after them, and here's the other thing I should say. At the end of that 3 or 4 years, when the warranty's coming to an end, you'll have a pretty good indication if your car's been reliable. At the end of the third, heading into the 4th year, has it been in for a lot of warranty work? Has it been in for a little warranty work? Has it been in for no warranty work? Our Audi A7, it went in for the backup camera. When you put the car into reverse, the camera on the screen, it flickered and it went out, and they changed the backup camera. That was after about 4 or 5 months. And then the only other thing was along the back of the rear hatch, they have the LED lights there. One of the pixels was burnt out. It didn't affect the car at all. It just was an aesthetic thing. So because it was under warranty, it took it in, they changed that. 2 things in 4 years. So yeah, if I hadn't changed cars, I would have had no problem driving that car outside of warranty because it was perfectly good. So I disagree with your friends. I think if you maintain the car, you'll get to know the car. As you get towards the end of the regular warranty, think to yourself, am I going to sleep better having extra warranty? Then you can buy that. This next one is, I live in Vermont with snow, new Subaru WRX or SI. I think I gave them both reviews, thanks. I think I've already answered that question. William says, hello, Zach, you're the man. Thank you. Mark Andre says, which is better, the Honda Pilot or the Subaru Ascent? This is a really good question, and I think they're really quite different. So what you have is, the Pilot is a 3.5 liter V6. Okay, then you have the Subaru Ascent, which is a turbocharged 4-cylinder. And the new turbocharged 4-cylinder in the Ascent is fantastic. The Pilot has a conventional automatic, either a 6 or 9-speed, and the Subaru has a continuously variable transmission. They're roughly the same size, even though the Ascent kind of looks a little bit smaller. I think it's because the hood is a little lower. It looks maybe a little bit smaller. Ergonomics on the inside, I think that actually the Ascent is better. One knock I have against the Pilot is it's riddled with cheap plastic. It doesn't look premium in any way. The Subaru, if you equip it with a higher trim package, it actually can look pretty good. And then you get into, its capability of all-wheel drive. Of course, Subaru has its symmetrical all-wheel drive system, which is different than Honda, of course. So I suggest you go and drive them. One deal breaker for some is they can't get their head around driving a CVT. I'm not a huge fan of CVT, but I encourage you to drive it because the Ascent is turbocharged. And what the turbocharger does is really mask and mimic the CVT play at all. If you've ever driven a Forester with the turbo and this new Ascent with the turbo, they did a great job. It won Consumer Reports for its category, a mid-size 3-row SUV, and I think it's one of the best in the market, and I think you definitely should try it for sure. Patrick Shore says, in America, we say Z, not Z. Well, that's nice because in Canada, we say Z. What I find interesting about Americans is, and I'm glad you're watching, is that your education system doesn't teach you that there are different places in the world that have different pronunciations. And the fact that they don't teach Americans that the last letter of the alphabet, Americans are the only country in the English-speaking world that says Z. Every other English-speaking country in the world, whether it's Australia or the Great Britain, England, where they speak English, they say Z, just like we do in Canada. So the fact you say it differently, Canadians have no problem with you saying Z, but Americans have a real hard time with us saying Z. They don't teach you that in school, I'm guessing. That's what I find interesting. What do you think? What's your opinion on the Volvo XC90 versus the Q7 versus the BMW X5? Well, the XC90 and the Q7 are purpose-built 3-row utilities. They come standard with the 3 rows. The X5 is a bit of a torture chamber in the 3rd row. I'm not a huge fan of the X5. For a 3rd row, I would suggest the X7 is a better choice. How often are you going to use the third row? If you're only going to use it once or twice a year, then yeah, consider the X5. I really do like the Q7, the way it drives. I'm not sold on the way it looks. It looks a bit station wagon-y to me. The Volvo, the XC90, my issue with those products is the electronics. If you're looking at a new one, the new head unit is better. They improved the processing speed. It's much quicker. The early iterations with the big screen were kind of slow and buggy. The new one seems to be better. There's a long list of people complaining about the Volvo electronics. So just be forewarned that that can be an issue. The new X5 of the three to drive would be my choice. So when driving, X5 wins. Excuse me. For interior, it's the Audi. Maybe exterior styling, it might be the Volvo. I think it's a pretty good looking unit. So yeah, go and try them all. If you're not using that third row very often, or really quite occasionally, the X5 is a compelling package. Greetings from Puerto Rico. Nice to have you here. I'm glad you're tuning in. I got invited to go to Puerto Rico once and I couldn't make it, which is too bad. I've had options to buy a car from the US with dual citizenship. However, the dealership told me if you buy and import to Canada using manufacturer warranty will be voided. Being a Toyota dealership in Michigan, is that true? No, it shouldn't be true. If you, first of all, you have to go and just because it doesn't matter if you're a citizen or not. Oh, I see what you're saying. Because you're a citizen, you can buy the car and vice versa. What you need though is an address in the States before you bring it into Canada because of tax implications. So that's one thing you have to consider because there are agreements with the dealerships that they're not allowed to sell and export out of the country. So if you bought a vehicle from Michigan and then tried to roll it into Ontario, for example, the Michigan dealer would get a penalty and vice versa. If the Ontario dealer was found to sell a car to somebody and it was registered in Michigan, they would pay a penalty. They're not supposed to do that. And part of the reason is some brands will not honor warranty. My brother has a Toyota that is from the US that he imported into Canada, and they are obliged to cover the car, but sometimes they put you on the never, never plan. Oh, what's your VIN number? They type it in and they see that you're not Canadian or you're not American or vice versa. And then they say, yeah, our first opening's in 6 months. So that's when you call the head office and you raise hell. So I have options to buy a car from USA as a dual citizenship. The dealer told me if I buy an import to Canada, manufacturer warranty will be void. No, that's not true. But they could mess you around. My brother had a heartache with his, and he had an issue with his Sienna van, and he actually ended up taking it back across the border and having the warranty work done in the US. So it isn't void, but they might not like you so much. So there you go. I can't decide between buying a BRZ or a Civic Si. Any suggestions? I want a practical car with a sporty as well. Probably be my daily, but also a track car. Track car, well, the BRZ is going to be the more efficient track car, but you're saying you're going to use it for everyday use. The Civic Si, hands down. BRZ is, in my opinion, underpowered. The Civic Si is mucho great. Am I saying that right from Puerto Rico? I don't think so. It's a fantastic car. Really is good. And if you wanted to put on a lightweight set of wheels and some nice sticky tires, you could go and have some autocross fun with it. Absolutely. Take it to the track. For me, it would be the Si. Plus, the BRZ's old. It's getting old now. Fareed says, hi from Richmond Hill. Love the channel. My brother, I just mentioned, lives in Richmond Hill. What's your opinion of the 2018 Mitsubishi Eclipse Cross? Thank you. Well, a whole lot of hate for that car on the review comments. I got to tell you though, when I drove it, I actually liked it. You think about what it is. It's a 1.5 liter turbo, CVT, and continuously variable transmission, compact format for an SUV. Well, hey, Honda sells loads of those, and nobody seems to beat Honda up over the fact that they sell hundreds of thousands of CRVs with a 1.5 liter turbo and a CVT. Mitsubishi comes out with it. Everyone hates on it. It drives just fine. I actually was surprised. It's actually quite fun to drive. The CVT is actually pretty good for a CVT. Now, some people don't like the shape. From the back, they say it looks like a Pontiac Aztec, and it doesn't. In pictures, it doesn't look good. In person, it actually looks pretty good. And in certain colors, it actually can look quite sporty. Check out the rear seat headroom, something to consider, and also the cargo area. If you need a lot of rear seat headroom and cargo area, you might want to think something else, but I got no problem with the car. Honestly, I think it's not bad at all. Thoughts on a Mini Cooper Clubman as a first vehicle? Yeah, why not? Lots of fun. Minis are great cars. One of those things about Minis is that they are like a drug for people that have owned one. Once they've owned a Mini, most people that have owned a Mini want to get another one at some point. They just love them. The zippiness, park it anywhere, all that kind of stuff that comes with a Mini / BMW. Reliability has been an issue with Minis over the years, so definitely something to consider about. Absolutely great first car. Any info on the 2020 Mustang GT? Lots of special editions, and GT 350 refresh info is being released, but not much on the GT. I don't know, because you got to remember, I only drove the new updated GT last year. It's only been out for a year, so any updates they do to it, I'm not really sure. Yeah, because it hasn't been out that long. I mean, they just updated it last year with the 10-speed and all that stuff, and the magnetic ride control and the new design. A lot of people don't like the new front end of the Mustang. It looks like a frumpy kind of like droopy face, like me. So that might be something they're going to address. Serge says, watching from Ontario, new subscriber, great work. Well, thanks, and good to have you here, Serge. Have you had any hot weather yet? My family's in Ontario, and everybody's saying it's like still waiting for the hot weather to show up. This one is, if I need 2 new cars, would a dealership be inclined to give me a better deal if I buy them separately, like a Grand Cherokee and a Giulia from FCA? Would I get a better deal than if I bought them separately? I would suspect if you go into the dealer and you say you're going to buy 2 cars, they're going to give you a better deal, which brings in CarCost Canada. What you want to do, this is probably especially true for the Giulia, even the Grand Cherokee, and FCA puts a lot of incentives on their car. You need to know what the dealer paid for the car, dealer's cost, the actual invoice that the dealer paid to buy the car. And then you're going to be able to see when you go on CarCost Canada, first search is free, you're going to be able to look up any rebates or incentives or secret rebates that you're not aware of. Here's a big news flash. Dealerships get special incentives from the manufacturer that are not published. They might actually have a special incentive that says, hey, on Grand Cherokee, there's an extra $1,500 in this car to help you move them, which they might use in the negotiating process when you're in the dealership if you didn't know about it, or if they can get you to pay more for it, they just keep the $1,500. But you knowing that information, you can ask for it. So this is vital information. So a couple of things. Grand Cherokee is older now, right? It's been out for a while. So there's probably going to be incentives on that. And I almost guarantee you on the Giulia, there will be incentives on that. These cars are not selling in great numbers. So that's information you need to find out. And then once you have that information, you go in and say, hey, listen, Bob's FCA dealer, I'm going to buy 2 cars today. What kind of deal can you give me? So all of that stuff you see on CarCost Canada is what the manufacturer is offering. But you can also still ask the dealer for a rebate as well and get them to throw in a little bit to get the deal done. So there you go. What do you think of the digital gauge clusters and content projected onto windscreens? Expensive or eventually coming to mid-level cars soon? Well, hey, they're not only coming to mid-level cars, they're coming down to compact cars. Like the new Mazda 3, Mazda with a Z, is coming, actually has a heads-up display now. They had a little flip-up screen. They got rid of that. They've actually got it projected onto the windshield. I can live without them. I got to tell you, if I was going to order a car for myself, I wouldn't pay extra to get one. But when I drive one that has it, I do appreciate it. For example, this coming weekend, I'm going on a road trip and we're doing about 1,000 kilometers for a tournament up in the Okanagan. So will I miss it? Not really. If it was there, it would be handy. So yes, we're starting to see that coming down to lower and lower grades. Same thing for digital instrument clusters. Like, you know that most new cars have some kind of digital readout in the middle for your fuel economy, tire pressure. They're just making them bigger and bigger now. So it's already coming to less expensive cars. What would your choice be between a Subaru Forester Touring and a Toyota RAV4 Hybrid Limited? One is a hybrid and one isn't. Do you want a hybrid? If you want a hybrid, you're going to get the Toyota. So yeah, something to consider. The Forester is a great product. They did a really good job with it. And go back and watch the RAV4 Forester video I did with Andrea a month or so ago. Now, they're not the hybrid and it's not exactly the trim you're looking at. The Forester is smoother, more refined feeling, and it's a different attitude on the inside because the greenhouse is so big, the glass is so big. But if you're looking for a hybrid, you can't really compare them. They're quite different. Hi from North York. I'm wondering whether I should get a 19 Altima or a new Sonata. Which one do you think is better for quality and reliability? I don't think there's really much in it, to be honest with you. If you're looking for all-wheel drive, the Altima is going to be the one that you should consider. So that's something to think about. If you want to have all-wheel drive, Altima now comes standard with all-wheel drive. So that's what you have to decide. It all comes down to personal taste. Often, it'll come down to the amount, the financing, and the monthly payments. And that's how a lot of people buy. They'll do exactly this. These are the two cars. They'll configure them online, they'll look at them, they'll go to the dealers, they'll see where they are, and one's $50 less a month. And that's the deciding factor. Often it is. So you have to do the math on that and see if that's the case for you. Alex says, what do you think about a used Lexus IS300 from 2016? Does cash get a significantly better deal? I really need to upgrade from my 2010 Mazda with a Z3. Yes, I think that if you're going in there and you're not burdening the dealer with getting financing sorted and all that kind of stuff, here's the thing is, you need to do your homework on that car. Once again, full disclosure, I do work for Canadian Black Book. Go to CanadianBlackBook.com and look up the value of an IS300 for 2016 with similar kilometers and equipment, and you'll see the wholesale price, which is probably pretty damn close to what the dealer paid to get that car. So someone traded that car in, or someone came off lease and they got that car back. You'll be able to see, I'll pick a number, $20,000. And they've got it listed on the lot now for $27,000. Well, they maybe had to refurbish the car a little bit, run it through the shop, do a service, add an extended warranty maybe onto it. So yeah, there's probably a few $1,000s worth in there that they've got into the car. So then you just think to yourself, well, if I go in there and offer them a nice crisp $24,000, you might be able to drive away and they made a few bucks and you got a good car. So that's what you need to do. Do your homework, CanadianBlackBook.com, find out roughly what you think that dealer paid for the car and then negotiate backwards from there. Can you throw some details about CarCast Canada website? What is it? I just mentioned it a moment ago. CarCost Canada, if you're watching the videos on the site, is the main sponsor of the channel, and CarCost Canada allows you to go in, and the first search is free, but you can do bundles of searches for a very small amount of money. It's really worth it. I equate it to having a good accountant. You pay a little bit of money to your accountant to get a tax rebate and get all of the deals. You're going to pay to do a search for a specific car. We'll pick the new Lexus IS. Say you're wanting to get a Lexus IS, you go in there and you type in and you're going to see, you're going to find out what the dealer paid for the car. That's where the car cost comes in. You will find out what Bob's Lexus paid for that IS from Lexus Canada. That's powerful information. There'll also be any rebates that are on there, any secret rebates, any discounted interest rates, any specials. If you're a first-time buyer, there might be an extra $500 off. If you're a veteran, there might be $500 off. If you're a student, there might be $500 off. You won't know that unless you go and look it up. That's kind of how it works. If you want then CarCost Canada to broker a deal for you, get in touch with a dealer and get you a favorable price, they can do that for you. They have a customer service number. You can phone them up and you say, hey, I'm looking at this Lexus. Can you guys help me nail a deal down? And they will work with a preferred dealer to do that for you. Or you can take that form that you paid for and go and broker your own deal. It's up to you. That's kind of how it works. Looking for a used truck under 30,000 K with good fuel economy. Which one would you buy, please? Truck is very vague. Are you looking for a full-size truck? Are you looking for a compact truck? I'm not sure. If you're looking for a full-size truck, I would look for a Ram Eco Diesel used, the diesel engine for fuel economy, hands down. Lexus IC 500 or Porsche Cayman, LC I should say, or Porsche Cayman. Well, these are very different products. Like one is a Grand Tourer and one is a sporty car. I'm a Porsche guy. I love Porsches. I mean, you know, the LC was nice, but it didn't excite me in any way. The Cayman, especially if you can get an S, is a hell of a car. Alex says, hey Zach, what are your thoughts on hybrids and how will they fare in future with current push towards all electric vehicles? I think a lot of people are missing out. They really are spending way too much money on electric vehicles. I think right now electric vehicles are disproportionately expensive. And you know, people are just totally leaning on rebates to get a lower price to get an electric vehicle. Then you've got to worry about where you're going to plug it in. You have range anxiety. And the big one for me, the biggest one for me is resale value. What are these things going to be worth in a few years? I think a lot of people are missing the opportunity today as a bridge choice in the short term. Get a hybrid vehicle, enjoy the benefits right away of reducing your emissions and getting good fuel economy. And then, you know, in a few years, or if you can get a plug-in hybrid, even better, if it can get you 20, 30, 40 kilometers of electric range and then it reverts to a hybrid, that's a good way to go. And then in 3 or 4 years, when there's way more electric choice out there, like right now, if you want to buy an electric SUV, like a proper sized compact SUV, Mitsubishi's the only one that has it. Now imagine in 3 or 4 years there's going to be a new Mitsubishi Outlander and there's going to be more choices. For example, the Toyota RAV4. I'll bet dollars to donuts that there's going to be a RAV4 plug-in hybrid one day. Probably in 3 or 4 years. That would be a compelling choice because Toyota knows how to do that well. So yeah, I think right now a lot of people are looking past hybrids in favor of pure electrics and they're going to pay way too much for them. And I think a hybrid today, right now, is the way to go. All right, let's go to the top chat. Mario says, thanks for the answer about the A5 Sportback. It's a 2018, by the way. Would like to also say thanks for doing these live videos to answer our questions. It means, and I mean every question. That's awesome. Hope you have a great week. Mario, thanks for that, bud. I appreciate that. Good to have people doing the top chat. All right. I like the new redesign of the RAV4. I can't wait a few years before it's getting a second one done. It just came out. It came out in December. It's 6 months old. You're going to wait a while. It's going to be 4 years before that thing gets updated. What do you think about the Hyundai View and the Nissan Kicks? I'm mobility impaired and need something with a higher hip point seating. The vehicle, I got to tell you, I can't tell you how many people I put into this car, and they absolutely love it. The Kia Soul. It is a great product. It is just that, it fills that void perfectly. The Kia Soul was brought out to appeal to young people, and I have put in more people that have arthritic knees or hips or backs, and they can't get in and out. They say, I want a vehicle I can get in and out of easily. Kia Soul. That hip point you're talking about is absolutely perfect. Try the Kicks. I got no problem with the Kicks. It's a wonderful product. I think that I like the Kicks more than the the Qashqai. I prefer it to the Qashqai. They're actually both good, but I prefer the Soul over both of them. So try that, and I think you'll have a good idea for yourself. Why no diesel hybrid? Seems like a perfect pairing. Years ago, I remember being at the Detroit Auto Show, North American International Auto Show, where they were introducing plug-in hybrids or hybrids generally, and I had one of the engineers there from Daimler, Mercedes-Benz, and walked through. I said, you know, you get to the point where you've got hybrid and you've got diesel, man, that's a winning combination. They had it in the pipeline. They were going to do it. And then the diesel fiasco broke out, and there's no appetite for that now. So it was going to happen. I agree with you. I think that would be amazing to have the best of a diesel and the best of a hybrid. You would get, but it's. Thank you, Volkswagen, for blowing all of that up. Josh, hey Josh, shout out to Josh, who's always commenting, always here, and I think always on Instagram too. Do you think a large price increase for a Mercedes E53 to an E63 is worth it? I drove the E63S and it's nuts, but expensive. This all comes down to, like, I don't know your personal finances, Josh. I do know that you're always asking about expensive cars for you and your family members. So I'm guessing there's a little bit of money splashing around. But I think, yeah, I mean, the E53 is going to tickle your needs most of the time. The 63, the AMG engines, I mean, the one thing I like driving them, but man, they suck gas. Like, they just love to suck gas. That's where the 53 might be the way to go. So it all comes down to your personal finances. Can you put up with the fuel bills, and can you put up with the expense to buy the car? If you can, hell, an E63 is not a bad way to go. But man, it loves gasoline. Audi e-tron already has $2,000 incentives and only just came out. Comments. Also significantly shorter range than expected Mercedes and Jaguar. I'm guessing the reason why it has incentives is probably price matching the Jag, and I think that's why. They announced the pricing with the I-Pace came out, and it's just a few $1,000s less. I almost guarantee you that's why they did it. And the range is going to be something that they are going to have to update, and they can probably pretty quickly. They're not going to be able to retrofit it to the existing cars, but you would hope that in a year or so they're going to come out with a different battery pack capability. I got to say that the Mercedes EQC, I really liked it a lot. I thought it was really good, and I did prefer it to the e-tron. The e-tron's bigger though, and that's one thing it has going for it. So I think that's the reason why you have that incentive. It's probably they priced it a little bit over where it should have been, and they're just adjusting it back. Hey Zach, can I get a chance to review on the new Mustang GT500? Thank you, doing a great job, from your East Van neighbor. Well, nice to see you, Steve. I'll get one eventually, but I don't have any information on it right now. And I just looked at the time. We've been at this for over an hour. That's a long time. So once again, I want to let you know that got a lot of stuff coming up. Please go back to the channel and subscribe. You'll see the channel announcement for Sweet and Sour. As I mentioned, Brian and I are doing our own channel together, Sweet and Sour. Couple of fools, look at us. And yeah, so that's fun. I'm going to be off on the road every week now for the next month, but when I will, I'll either do it on Sunday or on Mondays like I did just now. Thanks to everybody that tuned in. Thanks very much for all your comments. I appreciate it, and we'll see you next time. Take care.